him obviously has some importance. Mimicking him. But sometimes mimicking is easy. In fact, sometimes mimicking the sunnah makes it easier than not mimicking the sunnah. Following his example, that becomes difficult sometimes. That becomes very difficult sometimes. Following the example of the Prophet is different to simply mimicking the Prophet. A lot of us know people in our wider circle that don't speak to their brother or their sister or even their mother and their father. Why? Because some words were said that broke their hearts. And they don't speak for 20 years, 30 years, sometimes never. Rasul he faced how many years of persecution? 13 years of persecution in Mecca, many years of persecution, even when he was in Medina, a lot of difficulty. And if he wasn't facing persecution, those that were beloved to him were facing persecution. لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَءُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. Yani overly concerned is he, the one who has come to you from amongst you, about your well-being, about your burdens, about your problems, about your issues. He takes them on board, worried about your state. Can you imagine that if his companions are suffering what he is suffering, facing so much torment? They were on the verge of starvation, they were exiled from their houses, they were banished from their belongings, they were ridiculed. His companions were martyred, killed, to such an extent that his companions had to leave to a neighboring land in order to seek protection from a Christian king. After so many years, they broke a treaty. And after having broken a treaty, what happens? The Muslims now have the opportunity to march on Mecca. 20 years of torment, 20 years of suffering, 20 even martyrdom. Now they have the opportunity to march on those tormentors. What did I say? We have family members in here. Even amongst those of us that profess we're religious, that don't talk to one another because somebody said something offensive and they don't talk for 20 years. 20 years of the worst persecution. Now he rises and is heading towards the Kaaba. And one amongst the companions is excited and he says, Al-Yawma Yawmul Malhama. This is the day in which the blood, to spill blood, is permissible. This is the day in which we will take our revenge upon all of the persecution and suffering that these people have faced. But he is Rahmatan lil Alamin, and he corrects. And he says, this is the day of mercy. In fact, he continues to say, this is the day in which the Meccans will be made great. Now, this is following the example of Rasul, which is far more difficult than simply mimicking Rasulullah, is it not? Following the example and mimicking him